Hi, what's up, guys? This is Tyler here, owner of Wolves of Wall Street, part of the Team Let's Eat group, bringing you analysis for this week, October 24 through the 30th. Got a couple pairs in mind right here, and then some indices to look at that will help correlate with this and give us a little bit more confirmation on our entries. First off is the pound yen. And just a quick 4-hour, I'll delete all these and we'll break it down from the higher time frame. But this is essentially what we're going to be looking at. So a buy up into these levels and then a short. So lately, pound yen has been absolutely exploding. Thought there'd be some short opportunities, but it just kept going and kept going and kept going, especially once it hit this weekly high right here. I think we were all expecting a little bit of resistance here, but if you look to the right on the candle that broke through that horizontal level, just absolutely ripped right through it. And now after tapping 158, we've started to see that bearish pressure come in, slight pullback. But we never came back down to test this level, which ultimately is where I see this pulling back to. I'm also curious on what the Fibonacci level is for that, and it's actually even lower, so that'll be interesting. So all in all, looking at this chart, you see this large rejection here and no pullback. So ultimately, we're going to be looking for a short opportunity, and we'll get into the yen basket, and that will kind of help confirm this short, as long as we get the right price action, of course. But this is the target, 153.4. This is the daily target, right? So swing trade, without a doubt, going to be holding this. You know, if we get the pressure this week, we'll probably be holding it all next week too. So it might be like a 2-week trade or a 10-day or a 7-day hold. But it'll be worth it because the pips here to gain, there's pretty good. So let me delete this and this. So always with the pound pairs, you play within the daily levels, specifically the tops and bottom of the wicks, but you can also go into the tops and bottom of the bodies on the daily and the weekly. The reason why this level is marked right here is not because that's just a high, it's because that's the weekly top, right? That's the top of the weekly. And this is the bottom of the weekly right here as well, which I'll show you why it's not marked in a minute. So if we're going to be selling this pair, as we know, these candles, they play within the previous day and the previous week. So what that means is if we're shorting this, the next day candle is probably going to come up here and test this body potentially. If the bearish pressure is very strong, we'll at least do half, okay, at least 50%. But because of how strong this bull pressure has been over the past, like since October, literally since October 1, I would not be surprised if we came back all the way up here again, because price is going to try to come up. The bulls here they're not out yet. We've just had a 2-day drop. They're not gone yet, and we could definitely see them come back in and drive this price up, maybe even to a double top, which is totally okay because we'll get into that on the lower time frame. So this is the high of that daily of the previous day, and we have the low here. So what I would like to see is a nice pullback up into these levels before we short. I wouldn't want to short here because we've already dropped 200 pips. You know, we're looking to get a short up here, so the stop loss is a little bit better and the risk to reward is a little bit better. Now, a level that I see that you'll see a little bit clearer on the 1 hour is this level right here. That's a minor support that hasn't really came back and retested yet. So what I would like to see is price to come down here. And what that would look like on the daily is it would be coming down and it would make a wick right here. So I want to see price come down here and start rejecting. Okay, because then what that's going to do is that it's going to provide this next daily candle. It's going to give them a wick because every single candle has a wick, right? So if we come down here, I mean, what is that? 40 pips. It's a little 40 pip wick. Okay. Come down here. And if we start turning, I'm moving that over. So I like it lined up perfectly, nice and clean. So move down here and we start moving sideways and we start seeing some bear or bullish pressure on the lower time frame, like 30 minutes and under. I will be placing entries, and also we're going to compare it to the yen basket, of course. And you'll see why I think we're going to buy right now. When that happens, buy entry is going to be placed. Okay, this level right here, 156.7. Let me highlight it. I don't like too many lines, so we're going to switch it up and use a little highlighter zone. This will be the first target because like I said just a minute ago, we're either going to come up into these highs. So the open of the daily, where was the open of the day? Up here. So it's at 17 my time right there. Okay, so this level is the previous day's open and this is the previous day's high. So what I think we're going to do is come down here and make a wick, and then we're either going to retrace 50%, and if we get a lot of bearish pressure right here, give it time to come up here and test it and try to break it, because look at this bullish pressure. It's not going to give up that easy. Okay, we did have a nice double top right here. I think what's going to happen is we're going to come down, make a wick, and we're going to come up here. We might stall right here. It might look like we're going to sell off here, but I honestly think we're going to come up to these highs. Okay, pretty much 157.4 is really what I'm looking at. And that's a good 160, 170 pips to the upside. Now, once we get up above or to the previous daily high right there. Oh, I should restart down here. Okay, we buy up here. This is the take profit one. So right here, start taking profit. Okay, forgot to mention that. So yeah, I mean, what is that? 100, like 100 pips, 90 pips. So yeah, once it, because if it does reject from here, you want to take some profit here. Anyway, hold partials, hold most of it till 157.4. Let me delete that now. Now, once we get up here into these levels, and if you look left, you see where my crosshair is now. See how it all lines up well, right? Especially right here. I can see price pulling up in here, stalling, maybe chopping around, accumulating within this area. And then if we get a very clear, a few 4-hour candles to, sideways and rejection. Once we see that sideways movement, right? Because when it's pushing, it should be an impulse. And then once we see it slow down and stop pushing, and then it kind of chops around and goes like that, then we can look at it and say, okay, it's losing strength. So what's next is we wait for the rejection. So once we get up in here, we'll be watching the structure on the lower time frame, because on the 30-minute during this buy, it's going to be obviously a bullish structure. It's going to be higher highs and higher lows. Once that stops and we make equal highs or equal lows, then it start to move sideways. That's how you know the momentum is starting to change, because we went from higher high and higher low. Now we're going to equal high and equal low. And then once we make that first either higher low or once we make that first lower high or lower low, then we can start looking to enter, because then the structure is actually changing to bearish. So I think we're going to go something like this. I'm going to draw it out with arrows. Bam, bam, up here. Sideways. And then back down again. We're probably going to chop around, possibly chop around for a little bit, and then back down again. And just out of curiosity, right, that lines up well, right? It would say price pushes down here like we're expecting. You know, it all lines up with the Fibonacci as well, which is magic in numbers. Fibonacci is very useful, very highly respected, especially in this market. So zooming back out to the 4-hour. I hope you guys can see that clearly what I'm seeing. Obviously, there's a second scenario. I guess really two other scenarios. The second one is we come down here and we just blow through and we go all the way up to the double top, which would be fine because we're holding partials anyway, and we're going to be buying down here anyway. So, you know, that would be totally fine if we make like a double top up here on the daily level, because we already made a double top on the 1 hour. So if we come back up here, make a double top on the daily, that's totally fine. We're going to be in the buys anyway. That's one scenario. And the second scenario is we don't really come down here at all, and right after open, if we just start creeping up after open, then I'm not looking for buys, right? Like if we creep up a little bit and then drop, obviously look for potential buys. But if we start creeping up and up and up and up and up, then we're just selling. We're missing that because price could just open and come up here and then dump from there. So it really all depends what happens. There's a couple of things that we can plan for, but I think because of all this bullish pressure here, we will see this come back up, and I'll show you why with the basket too. Actually, the market just opened as well. So if you look at the basket, which is the index for the yen, basically, we see it starting to turn around, and it's turning around at this very minor resistance. But the fact that we broke 8950 leads me to believe we're actually going to see this come up to 9100, which would bring the yen down to that daily swing target. However, first, I think we will pull back, and we're either going to tap this low, which is this structure level here, or we're going to make a higher low. So we're going to come closer to it. Either one, totally fine. The gist of what I'm getting at is, excuse me, the gist of what I'm getting at is, I think we're going to come down first with the basket before we make that run up there. So what does that mean? The basket is moving down. That means this is going to move up, which is why I think we're going to come down here very slightly. And I think we're going to get a buy into these levels, because this is going to potentially, I'm analyzing it for this to drop, which means this would rise, right? But then once we get down here and we start gaining that bullish momentum again, I think we're going to make a run and try to break above 99,000 again, and even move into 9,100, which would give the short from up here down to here. And then if we break 90, or if we break 9,000 and we're going to start moving towards 9,100, that move I think would create this push down as well. So it all depends. Obviously, you know, we could just blast through here, but this is what I'm predicting will happen. I think we might make, if you want to look at it this way, it's kind of like a, here, let me, like this. For everyone that loves those patterns, you see what I'm getting at? So possible yen move to the downside slightly, and then we see the bullish pressure up into that 9,100. And that slight move down would cause this to go up, which would give us a nice buy of 100 and some pips. And then if we get that support on that equal high, or the equal lows or the higher lows, we get that support right there, then we drop to here at least, but the full target is definitely 153.5 basically, because I mean, that just looks here. Right, we had the channel, we broke out, pull back to test the channel, structure level about halfway. And from here, I mean, who knows, but shoot, we could go to like 160 or something. We could have another one of these. But I do think, we might see something similar like this, right? This might take, like I said, this might take 2 weeks. So there might be a couple trade opportunities in here, but overall holding that swing entry from right here all the way down here. That is it for the pound yen. Now we have the pound Aussie. So we shorted up here. Full target was basically down here, but we have continued that sell pressure. If I wanted to, I could move this right here, and you can see we retested this level and we started moving down. This is the weekly high right here. That's why I have it highlighted, and this is the low. So overall, I think we're going to continue to move down. Let me show you what that looks like on the 4-hour, just so you guys can get a clear idea of what I'm seeing. You see this? I hope that is clear for you guys. We have boom, 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 boom. All right, let's get another one. Now let me get rid of all those. So the only way I'm going to short this is if we can actually come all the way back up here, which again, looking at the daily level, let me show you an example. I'm going to show you a couple examples right here. So we get this nice pin bar and then a huge bearish candle. So we're expecting price to continue down, right? What happens? The next candle opens down here, comes all the way up to the top of this body, actually between the body and the wick, which is very key, between the body and the wick high. And then it pushes down here and it closes. And look at, again, the second day. So maybe you place an entry, you're looking for an entry right here, right at the top, right? That level is marked, which is why these levels are marked, right? Place an entry right here, following day, same thing. We open, we come all the way up here, pretty much right by where the first entry was. We play within that wick. We don't break it. We stay within it. Place a second entry when it starts rejecting and giving you that structure in the lower time frame. And then it just dumps. So I think we will possibly get something similar here. Is it possible it just falls from here? Yes. Is it possible we just blast through up here? Yes, but this is what I'm expecting. I think we're going to come up into these highs, and I should actually have the top of this body marked. That this line, this is basically like where the stop loss is going to be above. I'd like a stop loss, right above this high with the wick, which is why I would like an entry towards the top of this wick. I would love to see price come up here, make a nice wick up into these levels. Stay within this high would be ideal. Start rejecting on here in the lower time frame. Once we get nice and close to that high, really pay attention to that lower time frame, because as soon as that lower time frame starts turning and making the lower low and the lower high, place an entry on that lower high, and maybe it'll close with a pin bar or even like this. I mean, I guess that's technically a pin bar, but it's still bullish. We just want to get an entry as high as possible, because if we know the move is going to go down, we just have to get in at the highest point possible, which would be up here. Now, I'm staying patient with this, and I'm waiting for price to come all the way up here. Not only because that's just how I trade is, you know, the candles and the bodies and the high of the wick and the body of the candle. But if this is a lower high and this is, would say, because I see this, maybe some of you guys saw this too. I don't know. Let's say this pushes, right? We broke the structure. This is a higher low. If this is reversing, then it's just going to blow right past that. So we might as well just wait and see. Like it's either going to dump from here, it's going to come up to those highs and dump, or it's going to come up to those highs and blow past it. So entering right here wouldn't be smart. So that's out of the question. So the only thing to do is wait for price to get up here and see if it's going to break or not. Is it going to break this high? Is it going to make a higher high? Or is it going to come up here and reject and continue down? When I drew that channel, this downtrend leads me to believe we're going to see it move down and tap this level at least one more time. But, you know, we got to prepare for both, and, you know, that might not happen. So staying very patient and giving price the time and the ability to try and break this. Let it try to break that a few times if it comes all the way up there. And if it doesn't, then, you know, that's just 90 pips. You know, there's going to be another opportunity. Maybe there's a buy opportunity from down there. Maybe it breaks that and we get a buy opportunity down here. You know, there's plenty of opportunities. So there's no rush, no rush in entering it. So that's it for pound Aussie. Just waiting to see if price breaks this or not. Because if we come up here, we're going to make a nice 1 hour double top, which should be very ideal. Honestly, I would really like to see this sort of spike above that high. So like a nice pin bar. Like at one point, this is going to be a engulfing, like bullish, strong candle. But if it closes with that wick and it tries it again and it closes again with that wick, then it's game time for the short entry. However, so maybe you guys are looking at this too. There's a low, there's a low, there's a structured level retest. You know, does it dump from here? Maybe. I'm personally not going to take the entry from right here. I'm definitely going to wait for it to come up here. What does that look like on the weekly? Actually, I believe that's why. Yeah, because that was the top of that daily. That's why I had that level mark there. That's the high or the body of the week. That's right. I don't think we're going to come all the way up here. If we're going to continue down, it's probably going to respect the body. Similar to right here, you can see how we just came up and we waked just slightly above the body and dumped. The fact that it closed right there gave it the opportunity to come higher than that. We close way down here, so I think we'll just come up into these levels right here. So really, the stop loss is going to be 854, 1.854, and the entry is going to be as close to that as possible. I mean, think if we come up here, we come to this body, it open of last week, and we start rejecting. We place an entry right there, and we got a, even if it's higher, even if it's like a 30 pip stop loss, 30 pip stop loss to 200 pips to the downside is massive risk to reward. Even if you risk 1%, that's huge reward. Imagine if you risk 10%, right? I wouldn't do that yet, but unless you're, you know, you feel it intuitively, then you can do it. The last one I have is gold. Oops, that accidentally got moved. So again, the key levels here are the low and the high of the previous week. Pretty much the same across the board, every pair. Going to the daily, I'll show you why these are there on the lower time frame. I think what we're going to do is we're going to pull up slightly. Again, play within the wick, right? Maybe we come all the way up here to like 1810, right? That would be lovely. But these are levels that I'm watching for, and you'll see in the lower time frame. I think we're going to pull up, stay within this wick. At some point, turn around, possibly these two levels, maybe a little bit higher. And then we're going to sell to 1760. Now, what happens at 1760? If we blast right through it, I almost guarantee you we're going to at least coming down to 1745. If we break that, 1725. I don't think we'll go back to 1725 because of this. How do I move this? Boom. Blast through. Okay. Then we got a second one. Blast through. Possibly to these highs now. You guys see this? Clearly, I didn't want to take away the drawing tool, so I'm just using this. You guys with me? Okay. But what do I think will happen first? Again, weekly. I think we'll come down here and we'll test these lows. If the week closes down here, then we might go further down before making that push up. But I think we're going to get a buys from down here. I mean, if it's like Thursday and we're down here, and then it's Friday and we're still down here, next week we might be selling. But if we, again, if we close up back up here towards where we open, because we're going to open right here, if we close this next week up here, then I think we're going to buy next week to 1830. Let me put my drawing tools back on. I actually had this level marked because this is where I'm going to start taking profit. So these two levels are the target of the short opportunity that we're looking for. So let's go into the 4-hour. So the reason these two levels are drawn is similar to the daily and weekly level. How we break that down is the bodies and the wick highs. That is 130 pips, but gold moves like that. And I think if we're going to sell, we're going to respect either one of these levels. If we break this and we start coming up here, I mean, that would be fantastic because that gives even more room to the downside. I don't think that'll happen. It kind of depends on what the dollar index does. I'm actually more leaning towards it respecting this level because if we dive in the 130 minute, this is just a huge manipulation spike and dump. We made this lower low right here compared to this low. We have this lower low. This is a lower high. Can we come up here and test this and reject and stall right here? Then I would consider selling right here. If we come up here and we stall for some time and it just keeps throwing wicks and the dollar index starts to look bullish, then entry will be placed around here. However, with gold, I like waiting and getting the highest opportunity possible, which selling above, 1804 to like 1810 up in this area, that would be most ideal. I don't know if we're going to get that or not. It depends on what happens here. If we break this, I guarantee you we're going to come up here. And if we break this, we're either going to make a double top or we're just going to come really close to it. But this is possible right here. This is very possible. So we'll be watching the dollar index to correlate with this, which I'll show you guys in a minute. But this is what I'm expecting for gold, or possibly up here, right? Either one. Honestly, I would like to see price kind of make a structure here and chop around a little bit and give time for price to try and break this and give good structure that we could trade from, similar to like right here. See how we came up here and we got good structure. Obviously it didn't dump from there, but just the structure itself is very clear. It made a high, it tested the high here, it tested it here, and then it tested again here, and then it dumped. It made a lower low, then it pulled back. I would like to see a similar structure right here because then it's just way more. It just flows better. Just the entry feels better to me personally. Like right here, there's no structure. If you sold right here, like if you mark this level, see this how it lines up flawlessly. Even right here, right? It lines up really well. If you had this level marked up before price spiked up here, you could watch this on the 10-minute and you could see price come up here and you're like, okay, it's gonna sell from here. Like if you knew that, if you intuitively knew that price is gonna reject from here, you could have seen this, and as soon as it started dumping, you could place a entry right here. Like as soon as it started dumping like crazy, and then stop loss, it would have been a little. This is only what, 30 pips. I normally do 50 pips on gold no matter what. So you enter here, your 50 pip stop loss didn't even come close to it. But that's an example of no structure, which is what I would prefer not to happen for this sell opportunity. I would prefer to wait and let price try and get up into these highs and then potentially, spike up here, reject, enter, and then hold all the way down here. Because gold normally plays in the lower time frame. I normally I'll just watch 1 hour. After I analyze, obviously we started at the weekly. When we move our way down through every time frame, typically I won't even go up to the higher time frames again after the week started, because gold moves so quick and you really got to be, you just got to enter when it's time. So this correlates with the Dow index. Go to the daily, 4 hour, my bad. So price is being squeezed. Okay, a nice squeeze right here. And we have a nice seg level of 93.5. Okay, it was a resistance. It flipped to a support. We tapped it twice. We haven't quite tapped it a third time. So I think we're going to come down here again and try to break it again. Now, if we do break this and we keep going down, that will let gold keep going up, which is fine, because even if we get to like these highs again, let me change that. Even if we get to the highs again, and then let's say this comes down, brings gold up to the highs, and then it starts stalling, going sideways, and then we start seeing bullish pressure. And at the same time, let's say it comes up here to these highs, is installing, we start seeing bearish pressure. That's an even better sell opportunity. And sticking or going back to those weekly high and low rules, I mean, this is the high. We could come all the way up in here. We could spike above it even. Like if we came up here and wicked and did a a nice 4-hour wick, something like this, but above it, like right here. I mean, that's just better. This is more pips. That's 500 pips. So it's totally fine if that happens. No rush. There's never any rush with any trade. Always let it do its thing and wait. Always wait. You can always watch for the next 15-minute candle to close. Right? There's no rush. Because let's say right here, let's say this was, what I'll go to. let's say, just pure example. Let's say you're trying to buy this right here. Hold on, right here. And you're impatient and you're like, okay, I'm gonna buy right now. And you buy it. Look what happened. You just got stopped out. But if you just wait and you're like, okay, hold on, what does the next candle close? So this one closes and then the next one closes. And look, it's bearish. You're like, I wouldn't enter on the bearish candle. What does the next one do? Rejects. You know, no. This one, it still can't break this. Next one, nothing. This one, see, at one point, this will test your psychology. Because at one point, this was a huge engulfing candle, but look how it closed. It closed with a rejection. So now you had this level that it's not breaking, and then look, the next one, bearish. So you're like, nah, I'm not gonna enter yet. So you just wait, you stay patient, and look what happens. Boom, 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 boom. Still can't break it. It's not breaking it. Let me draw that level again. Look, still not breaking it. And then it dumps. And now you're sitting here like, man, I'm glad I waited, because if I didn't wait, I would have just got stopped out. So you can always just wait and just see what the next candle closes like. You know, unless the only time I would say don't wait is if you really, really feel it in your gut. Like I was talking to Osvaldo about this earlier. Like, if you know it's going to drop, like in this example a little bit ago, if you know it's going to drop from there and you can feel it in your gut, like literally, like when you're entering a trade, if you feel it and something, you don't know how, you don't know where it's coming from or what's causing it, but if you feel like it's time to enter, I have to get in right now, everything's perfect, everything's lining up, my gut feeling is telling me to enter, then enter. It's kind of like, um I'm sure everyone has experienced this. If something, let's say you're in a situation and you're starting to get a gut feeling, like a bad one, right? Like you can feel something in your gut, like something's not right, something's about to happen, and then it does. You're like, oh man, I knew that. You literally tell yourself, oh, I felt it. I knew it was something that was going to happen. There's a flip side to that with positive energy. Like, you can feel something when something bad is going to happen. You literally feel it in your gut before it happens. The same thing with something positive, which in our case in trading is, um, like, here, I'll show you a real life example. Last week, I sent this out to, I think, both group chats. Price is right here, literally right here. When this candle is pushing, I felt it in my gut. I said, gold is going to go up. Not only is it, had I analyzed it for a buy, but I just knew, like internally, I knew price was going to go up right now. So I entered it and I sent the chart out, and that's exactly what happened. It just blasted. This was the take profit up here, 1784. It just blasted right through it. I went to bed shortly after it closed. I think it was pushing up here, and I was like, all right, I'm going to bed. And then I wake up at like 8, 9 o'clock, and it hit the take profit. It's because I knew. I didn't want to wait because, again, I just can't get it through enough. Like, you will literally feel it in your gut. Next time you have a really good trade and you decide to enter, fully examine what you're feeling when you're about to enter. And then once the trade is over with, reflect back on that. And, question, what was I feeling when I entered the trade? Did I feel like it was time to enter, or did I just want to be in the trade, so I pressed the button? Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you do just want to be in the trade, so you just press the button and it ends up working out. But when you really feel it, then just enter, just get in the trade, because it's more than likely gonna work out for you. So I'm just gonna do a quick rundown again of all these pairs. And then that's it. That's all I have. K1, if you want to, If you have the time right now, let me know in the chat. I can make you host and you can go through U30 and the 500, or if not, that's fine. Let me know. Because if you aren't, then I'll end it. But if you are, then I'll switch you to host. Yeah, but one more time real quick. Of course, we always go through it once again on a quicker pace. And I'll draw what I'm looking for. So basically, pound yen looking to buy from this level up into these highs again, and then looking to sell from there all the way down here, because on the daily, well, it's pretty obvious, right? That's a very obvious. The motive behind the buy, okay, the motive behind this buy is the basket hitting this level right here. There's obviously a chance that we just blast through this and we keep going, and this just keeps dropping. However, staying patient is key. So I'm gonna wait. I would love to see this come back down here, give us this buy opportunity, and then drop. So just waiting for that. So this is what I'm looking for. If this doesn't happen like that, it doesn't happen. We'll everything's subject to change. We'll assess and reconsider. Basically, if this blasts through here and the yen just keeps going up, I would simply just wait for a retest of this level. Like if we come all the way down here, then this would be the new point of where I'd look to sell. But if we gain support right here and the basket starts to drop, then definitely buying right here and selling up there. So it kind of depends. There's a few different scenarios. Pound yen, continuation of this downtrend. Okay, I think we might continue this. So waiting very patiently for price to come up into these highs, because if this is a higher low and we're about to make a higher high, it's going to go up there anyway. So if the sell bias is wrong, it's going to come up here either way. So we might as well just wait and see. When price comes up here, I'm giving it plenty of time to try to break above this. If we break above this, then I'm not sell bias, I'm not touching it. But if we come up here and we reject and we go sideways, I'm selling it. So sells from here. Possibly, right? 200 pips. Depends. And then gold real quick. I know everyone was here for the gold at least. I don't know when the rest of you guys joined. Sells possibly from here. Possibly from here. This is the first target. Hold on, I love getting it perfect. There we go. This is the first target. This is the second target, which is an extra 73 pips. And again, just playing that weekly level, right? Playing those weekly wicks. Yeah, very clear. See if this next week, I swear we're going to come down here and make a little wick, then we're going to go up. And this part's interesting, right? I don't really look at this on the weekly, but that's interesting to see. This is tipping over, that's very bearish. But if we're going to continue down, we're probably going to come up to these highs again. It's all about those highs of the body of the weekly or the wick. So even if we're continue down, we're probably going to wick up here, and that wick up here will bring gold down. And if we get right here and we reject hard, then I could see gold. That drawing I gave out earlier, I see gold, going to like 1950. In the long run, we're most likely going to break this high at some point in time. We're going to break that. Okay, for sure. That's fine. Yeah, I just don't really trade U30, but I'm just gonna throw it on the screen for 10 seconds and then I'm gonna switch it over to you because I also see that. I'm not even gonna break it down. I'm just showing you what I have marked. Yeah, I can see a short. So I'm not gonna break that down. Speaking of the intuition stuff, feeling it in your gut, this will help you feel it in your gut, literally. Like literally, it'll help you recognize it and be aware that you're feeling that in your gut better. 852 hertz. Okay. I'm going to make you host. I'm going to stop sharing and then make you host. So give me a second. I have to stop sharing to stop recording. Okay.